The blue-skinned alien sat across from Captain Jake Morrison in the small meeting room. The alien's name was Zethkar, and he spoke in a slow, bored voice like he was talking to a child. Jake kept his face calm, but inside he felt angry at the way this creature treated him. "Your people will send food and medicine to our war," Zethkar said, looking at his glowing tablet instead of at Jake. "The real fighting will be done by species that know how to fight. Humans are too soft for war." Jake wanted to laugh, but he stayed quiet. Lisa Park sat next to him, and he could see her hands were tight fists under the table. Lisa was one of the best fighters Jake had ever known, but the aliens didn't care about that. For 3 years, the Galaxy Council had watched humans. They saw Earth make peace deals instead of starting wars. They saw humans send doctors to help sick aliens instead of sending soldiers. They saw humans try to talk through problems instead of shooting first. The Council thought this meant humans were weak and scared of fighting. They were very wrong. Admiral Kate Sullivan read the message from the Galaxy Council on her screen back on Earth. The alien races were fighting something called the Devourers. These creatures ate entire planets and everything on them. The Council wanted human help, but only for safe jobs far from the fighting. Kate shook her head and called Dr. Ryan Chun into her office. Ryan studied alien life forms and was one of the smartest people Kate knew. "Look at this," Kate said, showing him the message. "They think we're afraid to fight because we don't like fighting." Ryan read the message and sighed. "They don't understand the difference. We know what war really costs. We've been fighting wars for thousands of years. We learned that winning a war isn't about being the strongest. It's about being the smartest." The Galaxy Council was made up of many different alien species. The Thraxians were big, strong warriors who liked to charge at enemies with huge weapons. The Vorthans had powerful spaceships and thought they were better than everyone else. The Aquarians were peaceful and used their minds to talk to each other without words. All of these species had one thing in common. When they fought wars, they did it the same way their ancestors had done it for millions of years. They never changed or learned new ways to fight. The Devourers were different. They learned and changed after every battle. They ate the knowledge from the brains of their enemies. Each time the Council fought them, the Devourers got better at fighting back. Jake Morrison's ship, the UES Horizon, was heading to the war zone with medical supplies. His crew was made up of doctors, engineers, and supply officers. None of them were supposed to be soldiers, but Jake knew something the aliens didn't know. Every human on his ship had studied military history in school. They knew about ancient battles on Earth. They knew how small groups of soldiers had beaten much larger armies by working together and being clever. Dr. Amanda Foster was packing medical equipment in the ship's cargo bay. She had volunteered to go to the front lines, even though her family wanted her to stay safe on Earth. Amanda wasn't a soldier, but her grandfather had been a Marine, and he taught her that sometimes good people had to fight to protect others. "Dr. Foster," Jake said, walking up to her, "are you sure about this? The Council says it's dangerous out there." Amanda looked up at him and smiled. "Captain, my job is to save lives. If people are dying in this war, then that's where I need to be." Jake nodded. He understood that feeling. Humans had a strange way of running toward danger when other people needed help. The UES Mercy was another human ship heading to the war zone. Commander Steve Martinez looked at his crew roster. He had engineers, medics, cooks, and mechanics. Not one trained soldier among them. But Steve had read the reports about the Devourers, and he had a bad feeling about this war. "Chief Santos," he called to his head engineer, "I want you to look at our defensive systems. I know we're not supposed to fight, but I want to be ready, just in case." Maria Santos was a small woman, but she was the best engineer Steve had ever worked with. She could fix anything and build weapons out of spare parts if she had to. "Already on it, sir," Maria said. "I've been reading about these Devourers. If they're as bad as the reports say, we might need to defend ourselves." Back on Earth, people watched the news about the war. The Galaxy Council was losing badly. Entire star systems were being eaten by the Devourers. Millions of aliens were dying, and the Council's armies couldn't stop them. Some humans wanted Earth to send real soldiers to help fight. Others thought humans should stay out of an alien war. But most people agreed that if humans were going to help, they should send their best. The council had asked for farmers, doctors, and engineers. They got farmers who had served in Earth's armies, doctors who had worked in war zones, and engineers who knew how to build weapons as well as they knew how to build hospitals. Admiral Sullivan looked out at the stars from her office window. She had fought in Earth's last big war 20 years ago. She knew that humans were good at fighting, but they were even better at ending wars quickly and with fewer deaths. The alien races didn't understand this. They thought strength meant how hard you could hit. Humans knew that real strength meant hitting the right target at the right time with the right amount of force. Dr. Ryan Chun was working late in his lab, studying data about the Devourers. What he found worried him. These creatures weren't just strong and hungry, they were learning from every battle. They were getting smarter. If the Council keeps fighting the same way, Ryan said to himself, they're going to lose this war. He picked up his phone to call Admiral Sullivan. Someone needed to warn Earth's leaders about what was really happening in this war. The Galaxy Council thought they were fighting monsters, but Ryan could see the truth in the data. The Devourers weren't just monsters. They were learning machines that got better every time they fought. The Council's old ways of fighting wouldn't work against an enemy that learned and changed. Soon the Council would learn something important about humans. When humans said they didn't like war, it didn't mean they were bad at it. It meant they understood war well enough to know how terrible it could be. The ships full of human volunteers were on their way to the war zone. They carried medical supplies, food, and engineering equipment. But they also carried something the Galaxy Council had never seen before. They carried the knowledge of a species that had learned how to win wars by thinking differently than their enemies. Soon the galaxy would see what humans could do when they stopped holding back. The alarm screamed through Kepler Medical Station at 3 a.m. Dr. Amanda Foster was working late in the surgery room, fixing the broken arm of a Thraxian soldier when the lights turned red and the warning sounds filled the air. All medical staff to emergency positions. The station computer announced in a calm voice that didn't match the panic Amanda could see on everyone's faces. Devourer ships detected. This is not a drill. Amanda looked at the big Thraxian soldier on her table. His name was Korik, and he had been hurt in the last battle against the Devourers. Now his yellow eyes were wide with fear. Dr. Human, Korik said in his deep voice, you must run. Devourers kill everything. Eat everything. Your soft people cannot fight them. Amanda finished wrapping his arm and smiled at him. Korik, I didn't come this far to run away when people need help. Commander Steve Martinez was loading medical supplies from his ship USS Mercy when the attack started. His ship wasn't built for fighting. It had thick walls to protect the medical equipment and strong engines to carry heavy loads, but no big weapons. Through the station windows, Steve could see the Devourer ships coming. They looked like giant insects made of black metal, with long arms that reached out to grab other ships. There were at least 20 of them, and they moved fast. Chief Santos, Steve called to his engineer, can we fight these things? Maria Santos was already running toward the ship's control room. Give me 10 minutes, Commander. I have some ideas. General Koroth was the head of security for Kepler Station. He was a huge Thraxian warrior with scars all over his body from many battles. When he saw the human ship staying instead of running away, he couldn't believe it. Human Commander, Koroth called Steve on the radio. Your people must leave now. You have no weapons. You will all die. Steve's voice came back calm and steady. General, we have wounded people on that station. We're not leaving them behind. Dr. Amanda Foster was moving through the station, organizing the other doctors and nurses. She had 30 medical workers from Earth, and they all knew what to do, without being told. Ganny Roberts, a nurse from Texas, was already setting up emergency surgery rooms in the hallway. Danny, Amanda called. We need to move the patients away from the windows. If those things break through, we need to be ready. Danny nodded and started moving the alien patients to safer rooms. He had been a soldier before becoming a nurse, and his hands were steady even though explosions were starting outside. The Devourer ships hit the station's shields with energy weapons that made the whole building shake. The alien security guards were running around trying to set up defenses, but they didn't work together well. Each species did things their own way. Steve Martinez watched from his ship as the station's defenses started to fail. The Thraxians wanted to charge at the enemy. The Vorthans wanted to use their big weapons from far away. The Aquarians were trying to use their mind powers to confuse the Devourers. None of it was working. The Devourers had fought all these species before. They knew how to beat each type of defense. "All human personnel," Steve announced on the radio. "We're going to help defend this station. Everyone knows what to do." Maria Santos had been busy in the engine room. She came back with a big smile on her face. "Commander, remember those mining lasers we used to cut up asteroids? Well, they work really good on Devourer ships, too. The U.S. Mercy wasn't a warship, but it was built tough." Steve flew it between the station and the attacking Devourers. The big ship took hits from the enemy weapons, but its thick walls held. Dr. Amanda Foster was watching the battle from the medical station when she noticed something. The Devourers always attacked the same way. They came in fast, grabbed what they could, and tried to eat it quickly. "Danny," she called to the nurse, "get me those medical scanners." "I have an idea." Amanda connected the medical scanners to the station's computer system. The scanners were made to look inside bodies and find problems, but they could also track movement and find weak spots. "General Koroth," Amanda called the Thraxian leader, "I can tell you where the Devourers are going to attack next." Koroth didn't believe her at first. "Human doctor, you know nothing about war?" But when Amanda's scanner showed exactly where the next Devourer ship would hit, Koroth started listening. The human doctor was right every time. Steve Martinez was learning how to fight the Devourers by watching them. His ship was getting hit hard, but Maria Santos kept the engines running and the weapons firing. The mining lasers were doing more damage than Steve had hoped. "These things are smart," Steve told his crew. "But they think like animals? They expect us to run or fight like the other species do?" Chief Engineer Bobby Clark was on another human ship nearby. He had been watching the battle and noticed something important. The Devourer's weapons were powerful, but they took time to charge up between shots. "All human ships," Bobby called on the radio. "I'm sending you the timing data. We can hit them between their shots if we work together." The human ships started moving like they were dancing. When one Devourer fired at the UES Mercy, another human ship would attack from the side. When the Devourers turned to fight the second ship, the Mercy would attack again. Dr. Amanda Foster turned the medical station into a command center. She used the medical equipment to track all the Devourer ships and tell the human defenders where to strike. Nurse Danny Roberts organized teams to keep treating wounded aliens while the battle raged around them. The Thraxian soldiers couldn't believe what they were seeing. The soft human doctors were fighting as hard as any warrior, but they never stopped taking care of the wounded. Even when Devourer weapons were hitting the station, the humans kept working. General Koroth found Dr. Amanda Foster in the main medical bay. She was operating on a wounded Aquarian while explosions shook the building. "Human doctor," Koroth said, "I have never seen anything like this. Your people fight like warriors, but they never stop healing." Amanda looked up from her patient. "General, we learned a long time ago that the best way to win a war is to remember what you're fighting for." The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, all 20 Devourer ships were destroyed or running away. The medical station was damaged, but still working. Most importantly, over 3,000 wounded aliens were still alive because the human medical teams never stopped working. Commander Steve Martinez's ship was hurt bad, but it was still flying. Maria Santos had kept the engines running through the whole fight. Chief Bobby Clark had coordinated the other human ships so well that they had worked like one big weapon. When Council reinforcement ships arrived, they found something they had never seen before. The Devourers had been completely defeated by a group of medical ships and support staff General Koroth sent his report to the Galaxy Council that night. The humans fought with honor and skill beyond anything I have witnessed. They saved every wounded soldier on this station while destroying a superior enemy force, but the council leaders didn't want to believe it. Surely this was just lucky accident. Humans were still just support troops who got scared in real battles. They were about to learn how wrong they were. 3 months after the fight at Kepler Medical Station, the Galaxy Council was still telling themselves that humans just got lucky. But then more things started happening that made them think again. Captain Tony Williams was leading a group of supply ships to Proxima Base when the Devourer raiders found them. Tony's ships were big and slow, carrying food, medicine, and repair parts for the war. They weren't built to fight fast enemy ships, but Tony had been studying every report about Devourer attacks. He knew how they moved and how they thought. When his sensors showed enemy ships coming, he was ready. "All ships, listen up," Tony said on the radio to his convoy. "We're going to do something these bugs have never seen before. Follow my lead and trust each other." The 12 supply ships spread out in a pattern that looked random to the Devourers. The enemy ships came in fast, expecting easy targets. They had attacked supply convoys before and always won quickly. Chief Engineer Bobby Clark was on one of the supply ships. During the long trip from Earth, he had been busy changing the cargo containers. Inside boxes that were supposed to hold medical supplies, Bobby had built weapons using mining equipment and repair tools. "Tony," Bobby called on the radio, "my surprises are ready. Just get them close enough." The Devourer ships swooped in like hunting birds. Their weapons started firing at the slow human ships. But something strange happened. Every time they tried to hit one supply ship, another ship was there to shoot back. The human ships moved like they were all controlled by one mind. When the Devourers expected a ship to be in one place, it was somewhere else. When they tried to surround one target, they found themselves caught between two others. Civilian engineer Sarah Miller was on the supply ship New Hope. She wasn't a soldier, but her father had been in the Navy. He taught her that the best way to win a fight was to make the enemy fight your way instead of their way. "All ships," Sarah called out. "The raiders are trying to split us up. Stay in formation and keep moving toward each other." The Devourers had never fought an enemy like this. Usually, when they attacked supply ships, the targets either ran away or tried to fight alone. These human ships did neither. They worked together like parts of one big machine. Bobby Clark's modified cargo containers opened up and revealed weapons that the Devourers didn't expect. Mining lasers designed to cut through asteroids could also cut through enemy ship armor. Repair drones meant to fix damaged stations could also carry explosives into enemy engines. The fight was over in 20 minutes. 8 Devourer raiders were destroyed and the rest ran away. The human supply convoy didn't lose a single ship, though several were damaged, but the strange things didn't stop there. All across the war zone, human support teams were doing impossible things. Medical ships were fighting off attacks while still saving wounded soldiers. Engineering crews were turning broken space stations into strong fortresses. Even cook ships were finding ways to help win battles. Commander Helen Roberts was working with a Vorthan battle group when she noticed something the aliens were missing. Every time humans fought the Devourers, they learned something new. And they shared what? They learned with every other human in the war. "Captain Morrison," Helen called Jake on a private radio channel. "Are you seeing the same patterns I am?" Jake Morrison was now commanding a larger ship called the UES Defiance. He had been watching the Devourer attacks and noticed they were changing too. "Yeah, Helen, these things are getting smarter. They're learning from every fight, just like we are. But I think we're learning faster." Dr. Patricia Moore was working on a council research ship, studying captured Devourer technology. What she found made her very worried. The Devourers weren't just learning new tactics. They were physically changing their bodies to become harder to kill. "Captain Taylor," Patricia called to the ship's commander, "I need to send an urgent message to Earth Command. These creatures are evolving." Captain Chris Taylor looked at Patricia's research data and felt scared. The Devourers were becoming resistant to the weapons that had worked before. Their armor was getting thicker. Their weapons were getting stronger. Doctor, are you saying they're changing their biology based on how we fight them? Patricia nodded. That's exactly what I'm saying. And if they keep evolving this fast, the Council's weapons will be useless in a few more months. Patricia tried to warn the Galaxy Council about what she had discovered. She sent reports to the Council leaders explaining that the Devourers were evolving and that new tactics would be needed to fight them, but the Council didn't listen to her. She was just a human scientist working on a minor research mission. What could she know about military strategy that their great generals didn't already know? The Vorthan Supreme Commander Vith read Patricia's report and dismissed it. These humans think they understand war because they won a few small battles. They do not see the big picture like we do. But the human commanders were seeing something the Council missed. Every human ship, every human team, every human soldier was connected by radio and computer networks. When one group learned something new, everyone knew about it within hours. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Park had been transferred to a new ship called the UES Retribution. She was tracking all the human victories and noticed a pattern. We're not just winning fights, Lisa told her crew. We're getting better at winning. Each battle teaches us something that helps us win the next one faster and with fewer losses. The Council species had been fighting wars the same way for thousands of years. The Thraxians charged with big weapons. The Vorthans used powerful ships to attack from far away. The Aquarians tried to confuse enemies with mind tricks, but humans changed their tactics for every fight. They studied each enemy and found new ways to beat them. When one method worked, they shared it with everyone. When something failed, they fixed it and tried again. Admiral Kate Sullivan was watching reports from all the human units in the war zone. She could see that something big was coming. The Devourers were massing their forces for a major attack, and the Council didn't seem to understand how serious it was. Dr. Chun, Kate called her science advisor. How long do you think we have before the Devourers try something new? Ryan Chen looked at the data streaming in from human units across the galaxy. Based on their learning patterns, I think they're planning something huge. Maybe an attack on one of the Council's main worlds. Kate nodded. She had been preparing for this moment since the war started. The Galaxy Council thought humans were just good support troops, but they were about to find out the truth. Commander Steve Martinez was leading a group of medical ships toward the front lines when he got Kate's message. All human forces were being moved to new positions. Something big was happening. Chief Santos, Steve called to his engineer. Start upgrading our weapon systems. I have a feeling we're going to need them soon, Maria Santos smiled. She had been waiting for this order. Already working on it, Commander. These medical ships are about to become something the galaxy has never seen before. The Council was about to learn that there was a big difference between humans who preferred peace and humans who were afraid to fight. Soon, they would see what happened when Earth's children stopped holding back and showed the galaxy what human warfare really looked like. The attack on Nexus Prime began at dawn on Tuesday. The planet was the most important world in Galaxy Council space, with military bases from every alien species. If Nexus Prime fell, the war would be over. Admiral Kate Sullivan's human fleet was still 3 hours away when the distress signals started coming in. The Devourer attack was bigger than anything they had tried before. Hundreds of their ships were hitting the planet from all sides. Council Command, this is Admiral Sullivan. Kate announced on the emergency radio channel. Human fleet is coming to assist. What's your status? The voice that answered her was full of panic. Supreme Commander Vith of the Vorthans was trying to sound calm, but Kate could hear the fear. Admiral Sullivan, our defenses are failing. Recommend you stay back. Your ships are not equipped for this level of combat. Kate looked at her battle display. The Council forces were scattered and running. Their traditional tactics weren't working against the evolved Devourers. Each species was fighting alone, and they were losing badly. With respect, Commander Vith, Kate said in a calm voice, we didn't come this far to watch. Captain Alex Turner was commanding the destroyer UES Lightning. He could see the battle from 50,000 kilometers away. Explosions lit up the space around Nexus Prime like fireworks. Council ships were exploding or retreating in every direction. "Admiral," Alex called Kate on the command channel. "The Thraxians are trying to charge the main Devourer force. The Vorthons are pulling back to long range. Nobody's coordinating." Kate nodded. This was exactly what she had expected. The Council species were brave, but they didn't know how to fight as one team. Each group did what they thought was best, but they didn't work together. "All human ships," Kate announced. "Begin Protocol 7. We're going to show them how this is done." Commander Nancy Davis was leading a squadron of human fighters from the carrier UES Freedom. She had been studying the Devourer attack patterns for hours during the flight to Nexus Prime. "I see their plan," Nancy told Kate over the radio. "They're not trying to destroy the planet, they're trying to capture it. Look at their formation." Kate looked at her tactical display and saw what Nancy meant. The Devourers weren't attacking random targets. They were trying to land on the planet's surface and take control of the Council's command centers. "All units, new priority," Kate ordered. "We stop them from landing. Everything else is secondary." Marine Colonel Tim Rogers was on the assault. Ship UES Warrior with 500 human Marines. They were ready to land on Nexus Prime and fight the Devourers on the ground. But first, the fleet had to win the space battle. "Colonel," Kate called Tim on a private channel, "I need your Marines ready for something special. We might have to board enemy ships." Tim smiled. His Marines had trained for boarding actions, but they had never tried it against Devourers. "We're ready, Admiral. Just tell us where to hit them." The human fleet entered the battle zone and immediately did something the Council forces had never seen. Instead of each ship fighting alone, they moved like one giant weapon. Captain Jake Morrison on the UES Defiance coordinated with Alex Turner's destroyer and Nancy Davis's fighters. When Jake's ship fired its main guns, Alex's ship was already moving to the perfect position to follow up the attack. When both ships fired, Nancy's fighters hit the enemy from behind. The Devourers had evolved to fight Council tactics, but they had never seen anything like human combined warfare. Every human ship knew exactly where every other human ship would be at every moment. Commander Helen Roberts was working with the retreating Vorthon fleet. Instead of letting them run away, she showed them how to use their long-range weapons to support the human attack. "Vorthon ships," Helen called on there. "Command frequency? I'm sending you targeting data. Fire on these coordinates exactly when I tell you." The Vorthon commander was confused. "Human officer, we cannot hit targets at that range with any accuracy." Helen's voice was confident. "You don't need accuracy. You just need to hit where I tell you when I tell you. Trust me." For the first time in the war, the different species started working together. The Thraxian warriors found themselves attacking exactly where human intelligence said the Devourers were weakest. The Vorthon ships provided covering fire for human fighters. Even the peaceful Aquarians used their mental powers to jam Devourer communications at exactly the right moments, but then the real shock came. The Devourers revealed their secret weapon, a massive bioship bigger than any space station rose up from behind the planet's moon. The thing was alive, covered in thick armor that had evolved to resist every weapon the Council had. "All Council forces," Commander Vith announced in a scared voice. "That thing is immune to our weapons. All ships retreat immediately." Admiral Kate Sullivan watched the bioship on her display. It was indeed massive, and her sensors confirmed that normal weapons wouldn't hurt it. But Kate had been planning for something like this since the war started. "All human vessels," Kate announced in a calm voice that surprised everyone listening, "implement Protocol Omega." Captain Morrison understood immediately. Protocol Omega was humanity's ultimate battle plan, developed from studying every impossible victory in human history. It wasn't about having better weapons. It was about using everything you had in ways your enemy couldn't predict. "All ships begin tactical withdrawal," Morrison announced to the human fleet. The Council commanders watched in shock as the human ships started to retreat. After all their brave talk, the humans were running away just like everyone else. But Colonel Rogers knew better. "Admiral," he called Kate on the command channel, "how long do you need?" Kate looked at her tactical display. Dr. Patricia Moore's research data was there, showing the bioship's internal structure. The creature was like a living space station, which meant it followed the same physical laws as any building. "Give me 30 minutes, Tim," Kate said. "Then we show them what humans do when we stop playing nice." The bioship began moving toward Nexus Prime, destroying Council ships with weapons that seemed to come from its own body. The creature was indeed immune to energy weapons and missiles. It had evolved perfect defenses against everything the galaxy could throw at it, but evolution took time, and the Devourers had never fought humans long enough to evolve defenses against human tactics. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Park was on the UES Retribution, one of humanity's newest warships. She was coordinating with Morrison and Turner, preparing for the most dangerous attack any human force had ever attempted. "Remember," Lisa announced to the human fleet, "we're not trying to destroy it. We're trying to change it." Admiral Sullivan smiled as she watched her ships move into position. The Galaxy Council was about to learn that humans didn't fear war because they were weak. They feared war because they understood exactly how terrible they could be when they stopped holding back. The bioship was advancing on Nexus Prime, confident that nothing could stop it. In 30 minutes, it would learn that there was one thing in the galaxy it had never evolved to fight, ever fought a species that treated impossible odds as just another problem to solve. Protocol Omega wasn't about bigger guns or stronger ships. It was about turning every disadvantage into a weapon and making the enemy fight the way humans wanted them to fight. Captain Jake Morrison flew his ship, used Defiance straight at the massive bioship. The alien creature was the size of a small moon, covered in thick armor that had evolved to stop every weapon the galaxy could make. But Jake wasn't trying to break through its armor. "All power to forward shields," Jake ordered his crew. "We're going in." The bioship's weapons tore into Jake's ship. Holes opened in the hull and systems failed all around him. But the UES Defiance kept flying toward the monster. Every hit Jake took gave information to the other human ships about how the creature fought. Admiral Kate Sullivan watched from her command ship as Jake's vessel took terrible damage. She wanted to order him to retreat, but she knew he wouldn't listen. This was what Protocol Omega required. Someone had to go first, no matter the cost. "Data received," Lieutenant Commander Lisa Park announced from the UES Retribution. "Beginning attack run." Lisa's ship came in from a different angle, using what Jake had learned. She lasted longer than Jake before the bioship's weapons found her, but she gathered more information about the creature's weak. SPOTS Dr. Patricia Moore was watching the attack from the research ship. She understood what the humans were doing now. They weren't trying to win with one lucky shot. They were learning how to beat the bioship by letting it hurt them first. "They're using themselves as test subjects," Patricia said to Captain Chris Taylor. "Each ship that attacks teaches the others something new." Commander Nancy Davis led her fighter squadron against the bioship's surface weapons. Her small, fast ships couldn't do much damage, but they could map every gun and missile launcher on the creature's skin. "Admiral Sullivan," Nancy called over the radio while dodging enemy fire, "this thing has to breathe." "I can see air vents all over its surface," Kate smiled. Nancy had found the key. The bioship was a living creature, which meant it needed to exchange gases with space around it. Those air vents were the weakness Patricia's research had predicted. "All ships," Kate announced. "Begin Phase 2. We're going to give this thing something to digest." Captain Alex Turner's destroyer UES Lightning began releasing its emergency air supplies directly at the bioship's feeding ports. The creature had evolved to eat energy and metal, but it couldn't adapt fast enough to handle sudden changes in the air around it. Marine Colonel Tim Rogers was leading boarding parties from small assault ships, but instead of trying to break into the bioship, his Marines were attaching devices to its outer surface. Each device contained compressed gases from human life support systems. "Remember," Tim told his Marines over the radio, We're not trying to get inside. We just need to change what this thing is breathing. The bioship began to slow down as its internal systems tried to process the strange new gases. The creature had never encountered this kind of attack before. It could evolve armor to stop weapons, but it couldn't stop breathing. Commander Steve Martinez flew the medical ship UES Mercy close to the bioship's surface. Maria Santos had modified the ship's medical equipment to produce different types of gases and spray them directly at the creature's air vents. Chief Santos, Steve called to his engineer. How's our special medicine working? Maria laughed as she watched her equipment pump oxygen and nitrogen into the bioship's breathing system. The patient is starting to look sick, Commander. The massive creature began to shake as its internal pressure systems failed. It had evolved perfect defenses against weapons, but evolution couldn't help it adapt to breathing the wrong mixture of gases in just a few minutes. Supreme Commander Vith watched from his command ship as the bioship started to spin out of control. Admiral Sullivan, he called Kate on the radio. What are your people doing to that thing? Kate's voice was calm as she explained. We're giving it exactly what it wants, Commander. It evolved to consume everything it encounters. So we're feeding it gases that will change its internal pressure until it can't function. But Protocol Omega wasn't finished yet. The bioship was weakening, but it was still dangerous. Kate had planned for this moment since the war began. All Council forces, Kate announced on the general frequency. Target the coordinates I'm sending. You have 30 seconds before that thing explodes. The Thraxian warriors, Vorthan ships, and Aquarian vessels all received targeting data from the human fleet. For the first time in the war, every species fired their weapons at exactly the same target at exactly the same time. The combined firepower of the entire galaxy hit the bioship's weak spots just as its internal pressure reached critical levels. The explosion was so bright it could be seen from 3 star systems away. When the light faded, the bioship was gone. The entire Devourer fleet had been caught in the explosion, and the survivors were running away as fast as they could. Supreme Commander Vith's ship slowly approached Admiral Sullivan's flagship. The Vorthan leader requested permission to come aboard and speak with Kate in person. Admiral Sullivan, Vith said when they met in Kate's office, I must ask you a question. How long has your species been capable of this kind of warfare? Kate looked at the alien commander and gave him an answer that would change how the galaxy saw humanity forever. Commander, humans have been fighting wars since before we discovered fire. We don't fear war because we're weak. We fear war because we know exactly how good we are at it. The Council's formal request came the next day. They wanted humans to become full members of the Galaxy Council. They also wanted human military advisors attached to every major fleet in their space. Earth's answer was typically human. They accepted membership, but they insisted on sharing their military knowledge with all species freely. There would be no human empire, just humans teaching others how to fight together. Dr. Ryan Chain became Earth's chief military advisor to the Galaxy Council. He explained human military thinking to a gathering of alien leaders from across the galaxy. We don't fight because we hate what's in front of us, Ryan told them. We fight because we love what's behind us. And now the galaxy is behind us too. The war against the Devourers ended in 6 months. The parasitic species, faced with coordinated resistance for the first time in their existence, was forced to retreat to the edge of the galaxy where they could no longer threaten civilized worlds. Captain Tony Williams was put in command of the new integrated defense fleet. Ships from every species worked together, using tactics that humans had developed but that every species could learn. The old ways of fighting are over, Tony wrote in his final report. The Council thought we feared war because we wanted peace. Now they understand that we wanted peace because we understood war. The galaxy was safe now, protected by beings who had learned that the best way to preserve peace was to be ready for war. More importantly, they had learned that true strength came from working together instead of fighting alone. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of her ship, looking out at the stars. The galaxy was bigger now, full of species that had learned to trust each other. Humans had shown them their greatest weapon wasn't technology or strength. It was the ability to turn any group of strangers into a team that could achieve the impossible. The stars belonged to everyone now, and they would stay that way.